Is masculinity under attack? Well, stay to the end of this eye-opening video because I reveal the surprising factors that silently drain your manliness, and it can also lower your testosterone. So prepare to be shocked as I uncover the hidden factors undermining your masculine energy and power all along. Don't miss out because on this video, this is going to definitely empower you. So you want to stay to the end, and it's going to bring you back to your masculine energy, but on your terms. So let's drop into it. Welcome everyone. I'm Joy Rochelle, an embodiment coach to men, and I'm so excited to be really talking about the masculinity myth and the 5 factors that sap your manliness. Number 1 is an unrealistic expectation from society. And what I mean by that, maybe even your internal pressures and obviously societal pressures, putting men in this rigid box, creating this box of pressures for you to be physically strong times the 100th power, right? To look like Hercules, to be emotionally stoic, meaning repressing your pain, keeping your emotions in, keeping your trauma in, bearing all of this down into your body physically, energetically. Also, impractical expectations on being, the primary financial provider. Maybe that's really having you step out of your manliness on your terms. Seeing these images like being a millionaire, buying a yacht, and driving a luxury sports car all day with loads of chicks draping around you and your friends. It's not always realistic, and it doesn't mean that you're less of a man if you don't create those things or have those things financially. And if you want those things, no judgment, but those types of images are definitely pushed on you through media, through entertainment, music videos, social media. You've seen it, you've heard it. And is it sapping your masculine, your manly energy because you're not feeling now worthy or good enough if your life isn't like that, if you are not financially providing to afford those things? And these norms society has put on us, culture has put on you, different cultures, maybe even creating from your own internal pressures. Ask yourself, is that sapping out your own definition of what being a man can be? So that's the number 1 factor, is unrealistic expectations from society. Number 2, normalizing the unconscious masculine, I like to call it, not toxic masculinity, because masculinity isn't toxic. So I call this man the unconscious masculine, or the unconscious masculine energy. Like going back to my prior example, you've seen it in entertainment, music videos, movies, even going as far as just normal TV and reality shows, whether it's on Netflix or CBS. From all these different outlets, you've seen the unconscious masculine toting around in his harmful behaviors with his masculine attitude, like being in control, bigging up dominance in a unhealthy way, being so overly masculine that he isn't vulnerable, that he represses his emotions, that he's like such a manly man. And usually men who have on that thick of a facade, I notice, are the weakest men of the collective. And they throw on this shield because they're so insecure, to help them really hide that from whoever is around them. And I definitely have been around this type of masculine, especially working in the hospitality industry for 10 years. I've been exposed to all different types of masculine energies, but this was definitely one showing up in the club. And so I met him in real time, in real life. As a result, this unconscious masculine that's walking around with all these harmful behaviors that he's projecting out and making himself bigger than life to hide his insecurities, he ends up having lots of internal conflicts, holding on to his childhood trauma And being that he's holding on to that, it's projecting and manifesting as him being quote unquote an asshole, being very dominant. Some people, call it Napoleon complex if it's a man acting like this and he's like short in height, right? This masculine energy usually has no concept of emotional IQ, or definitely emotionally unavailable. Again, putting up that guard, that shield so strong to hide his insecurities, and to really, it's his mask to hide. Choosing a lifestyle that's really out of chaos because the choices are coming from the trauma, if that makes sense. So number 2 factor is this normalizing of the unconscious masculine that is could be sapping the manliness out of you, because now you're looking at this thinking like, maybe that's what I'm supposed to be to really represent my masculine energy and be a man in this world, which can be further from the truth. And this is especially, I think, more impacting on younger generations, people who may be in college, maybe just entering high school. So it's very important, I think, for men to do that work on themselves so that you can be an example and a model for future generations. Especially, it's not easy to be coming into teenager, being a young adult, even being a preteen. But to come back into the factors, we're on the 3rd factor is emotional suppression. Now, I know you've heard the term man up, I'm sure, in your life of growing up from a young boy to coming into adulthood. Boys and men are discouraged from a young age, obviously, that being vulnerable or seeking emotional support is not an option. It's not a way to represent what being a man is in this world. And if that is continuously practiced, especially from childhood, now you're a man and this is your part of your identity, showing up to really be guarded, to not even be able to connect not only with women or while you're dating or in romantic relationships, not being able to connect with other men, not being able to create deep, meaningful, close connections with other men, because these emotions are continuously being repressed and harbored inside as opposed to being expressed. And you can vulnerably express yourself from a grounded masculine place who still is in alignment with the type of man he is. But obviously that's not the narrative that's being played out in the collective. And it also maybe have played out with men in your family through generations. I'm not taking this lightly as I say this to you. It could be a generational thing too, that you get to be a stand for and to break and create a different trajectory for the direction of your family dynamic and your family legacy. Obviously, emotional suppression, I've talked about this in previous content, can lead to stress and lots of anxiety and the inability, like I said, to create deep and meaningful connections and relationships with all genders, and most of all with yourself. If you haven't allowed yourself to fully feel as a man, how can you really have a grounded, connected relationship with yourself and others? Now, going into the 4th factor, right, that saps your manliness and your masculinity is body image pressures. I always think about this when I'm like going to boxing class or working out or going to the gym, like, what type of pressures are men under as far as like body image and body identity? Because I know it's there. I can see it in the gym. With the heavy media and societal influences on physical beauty standards. Now, women, we're thrown in this from all different areas, but men are too. And there's a heavy influence on men's perceptions, on cultivating the perception around what a real man or what a real man's body is supposed to look like. Men are creating, because of the constant programming creating unrealistic ideals of muscles are healthy and how muscle growth and building muscle mass is supposed to be created and what physical appearance is. And so this can obviously lead to eating disorders. I'm sure men are experiencing this. I don't think it's talked about a lot openly in the public as much as it is with women and young women, people who like model, et cetera, as far as like being a woman. But it's definitely out there. I'm sure there are men out there who are suffering from eating disorders because of this societal pressure. You know, it goes into like, it can be as extreme as body dysmorphia, but also just normal body dissatisfaction on the daily, and an unhealthy mindset around your workouts, going the gym time, achieving an unattainable perfect physique. You know, having a six-pack does not make you a man, right? That's only one little aspect of you, and that doesn't always mean that you're the best man and you know you're really showing up in your masculine energy just because you have a six-pack or biceps and triceps. Yes, it could represent you're putting in that work, you care about your body, but at what cost? What is that serving you? And is it serving a societal box that you've been put in and the pressures you've been put on yourself internally? Or is it really representing your masculine strength and you being healthy around creating that body-wise, physically, internally, and physically, externally? And number 5 is the disharmony between career, work, and personal life. This is a big theme for men, and this is really how I started my journey of being of deep service to male entrepreneurs and businessmen, because they always struggle with this, right? I think men across the board struggle with this, but definitely the men I've worked with have been big struggles with this because they've been like, they're usually business executives or entrepreneurs and have been in the entrepreneurship game for a while. Creating a thriving career and a happy, playful personal life can be a big challenge for men. Obviously, based on all the factors I just said, all the previous factors, but because adding to that, it comes with the expectations, internal pressures from yourself or, you know, around your goals, career, work. You know, men can often prioritize their careers, money, success, being the provider over personal well-being. The money, the success, the career, the work you're in starts to become the driving force behind everything, especially if you don't feel like you're at a level that you want to be. You can possibly throw yourself into survival mode, which doesn't feel healthy, which can come from a place of lack, not having enough. Even if you have enough, and people outside around you are telling you this, but in your mind, you're like, I'm just surviving. I don't have enough. And so you're going, driving yourself insane and leaving your self-care and your health by the wayside to acquire this thing or these things or this goal, which is not a bad thing to have. I'm not saying it's bad to have goals. It's great to have goals because they help lift you up and you really learn within the process, not actually getting to the goal, but at what cost are you creating that? This creates mega disharmony, which can cause chronic stress. I talk about this all the time in my content. Anxiety, burnout, you know, maybe even leading to some form of depression because now you don't feel worthy as a man because you're not where your friends are, you're not where your mentors are, you're not where you want to be in your career, and so you drive even more, you force even more. It gets forceful, it gets dominant, it gets controlling. Building your business, building your career, building your work. And this could definitely put a strain on your personal life and your personal relationships. Being a man put mental health and your self-care on pause and ignore it all together, which can then, because it's a snowball effect, right? Everything is interconnected. One thing is going to affect the other, which then snowballs, as I said, into a real health crisis, or you may not get the lesson until a real health crisis comes on and shows up, like a heart attack. Heart disease, including heart attack, is traditionally considered more prevalent in men. And this comes from a lot of different factors. Obviously, a lot of studies around this are done more on male participants. So the numbers could just be off because of that, because they're not bringing more crops of women into studies like this that study heart disease, cardiovascular disease. But I thought it was interesting in learning about this a little bit more, why this, specifically heart disease and heart attacks, are more prevalent in men, is because from a few factors, from hormonal differences to the age of onset that shows up in a man's lifespan. These things show up in a man's lifespan earlier, and usually at the time when he's building something, right, of substantial meaning around his work. Maybe this wasn't shocking for you. Maybe you knew all this information. Maybe it's something you've been reminded of. But trust, I have seen men come to me when the wheels are breaking down on their life and their health. And it's unfortunate to have that happen. And so that's why I'm in this conversation, for you to go through these particular factors in your life and notice, is it draining your life force? Are you burnt out? Are you a workaholic? Is it draining you really showing up in your masculine energy on your terms, the way you want to, not according to society? So if you are excited around this content, if you got value out of this content, please like this video, share it with another man, subscribe to the channel. And also, if you're interested in doing something opposite to unravel all of these and have you come into a more grounded masculine, you can get my grounding and breath meditation. I have the link below here on the screen, and it's also dropped in the comments, and also the details and the content of this video. This is my free gift to you. You just go in that page, type in your name and email, and voila, you have this 7-minute meditation of pure bliss to help you calm your nervous system, really stop to have it be a pattern interrupt to your brain, to start to invest in your self-care and come back to taking care of yourself and stepping into your masculine energy from a grounded way on your terms. I hope you enjoyed this content, this content. Stay tuned with me in the next video. I'll see you there.